So, hi. I just thought I'd talk a little bit about non-duality for you and make it as simple as possible. It really is crazily simple, this stuff. People tend to complicate it and they get wrapped up in the mysticism of it and they want it to be something that it's not. Or either that or they just struggle with accepting it, I think, because it seems too simple. And they think, no, it can't be that easy. There must be something else that I'm not getting or you're not getting. But really, it's really, really simple. Profound, but very simple. The basis of non-duality is that this idea that we are a separate mind-body entity is the cause of all of our problems. But I think for most people that's a huge leap to make. So we can go back to some basics. The first thing I think people should understand is that the cause of all of our problems is the mind. Now the mind's a terrific thing, can be very useful, but it's also the cause of all of our problems. And the first thing that we need to recognize is that we are not the mind. Most people seem to think that all this stuff that's going on in their minds, these thoughts, these ideas, is who they are. When really, you are that which is witnessing the mind, that thing which is aware of the mind. Now, in traditional non-duality circles and Advaita and Zen type circles, they would say that you are the awareness or you are the consciousness that is aware of the mind. But I find that those words have a different meaning in the 21st century. We have a definition of awareness and we have a definition of consciousness, and they're not what those non-duality teachers are really referring to. So the easiest way to explain it, I think, is that you are the unconscious mind or the subconscious mind that is aware of the conscious mind. So let me explain that. When a baby is born, they have a brain, they have a mind, they are aware of what's going on around them. Snap your fingers in front of a baby's face and it'll pay attention. Clap your hands beside it, it'll turn its head. They are aware. And the brain is functioning, like the rest of their body, like their digestive system is, and their heart is beating, and their cells are growing, and all of that stuff, all of these autonomic functions are taking place. What babies don't seem to have is the conscious mind, what we think of as the prefrontal cortex, the part of the mind and the part of the brain that develops, according to literature I've read, around about 2 years of age. These parts of our brain start to take shape. And that's where the part of our brain that deals with abstract thought and ideas and concepts, concepts like me, you, mother, father, dog, cat, start to take place. Language starts to take place in this part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex. And obviously from the age of 2 onwards, that develops and becomes stronger, and these ideas, these concepts become a huge part of our lives. But what we forget is that we existed before that came online. There was the other part of the mind, the brain, that pre-existed before the conscious mind came online. That is what we are. That is what is aware of the conscious mind. Now, if you read literature on consciousness, on cognitive science, they suggest that our brains are taking in huge amounts of data, auditory data, visual data, sensory data, all day, every day, even when we sleep. our brains are taking in this information. But only a small percentage of it is passed from the subconscious mind or the unconscious mind. I use those words interchangeably. I'm not sure which is correct. Subconscious tends to have a sense of Freud about it, and that's not what I'm aiming at here. But that part of your brain, or the baby mind, I've decided that's what I'm going to call it, the baby mind. That baby mind is taking all of this data, but only a small percentage of it is passed up to the conscious mind. It's the things that need to be thought about in more detail. Kahneman talks about this in his book Thinking Fast and Slow. He calls it System 1 and System 2 brain. System 1 brain, I think it is, can deal with stuff almost instinctively, very quickly, but it doesn't think deeply about things. And System 2 brain is the part of the brain that needs to think deeply about situations or ideas or concepts. Anyway, that System 1 brain is the thing that is aware of everything that's happening around you right now. Like, for me, it's aware of the breeze coming in through the door. It's aware of cicadas or crickets or something chirping outside, the clock ticking behind me, the lights on, the environment around me. But I'm not thinking about that consciously. It's just my brain's aware of it at some level. It's the same, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but just a week or so ago, Chrissy and I were in the car, we were driving somewhere, we were going out to meet someone or something. And we'd been in the car for 20 minutes, and all of a sudden I stopped and said, "Where are we and where are we going?" I'd completely not been paying attention, completely spaced. But some part of my brain had been driving the car, following the road rules, but I wasn't even aware of it, I wasn't thinking about it, it was just happening. So again, subconscious mind, unconscious mind, the things that have been that are programmed into us, either through biology or through repetition. Things that we're not conscious of, we're not paying attention to. Now, what we typically think of as the mind is the conscious mind, where thoughts reside, where we think, where abstract ideas are formed. And because that's the noisiest part of our brain, that's what we pay attention to, and we think that is who we are. But really, that's not who we are. That's just a mechanical process. It's a chemical, mechanical process. As I like to say, thoughts are properties of the brain. The brain is made of chemicals. Chemicals always obey the laws of chemistry, which are cause and effect. Therefore, all thoughts are governed by cause and effect. Anyway, so the first step, I think, or one of the first steps with non-duality is start to realise that there's another part of the mind that's aware of the conscious mind, the chattering monkey, as we like to call it sometimes. There's something else that's aware of that. It's the same thing that's aware of everything else that's going on. Again, traditionalists call it awareness or consciousness. I just prefer to call it the conscious, the unconscious, the subconscious mind. And there's a lot of benefits to be had from realising that you are that. Once you realise that you are the thing that is aware of the mind, you become less interested in what the mind, the conscious mind, does or thinks. When you realise, it's a bit like if you had spent your life thinking that you were what was on television, and you were getting caught up in the soap opera that you were watching, and all of a sudden you realise that you're not the soap opera. You are separate. You are watching the soap opera. You are the viewer of the soap opera. All of a sudden, you may still enjoy it. You may get a laugh. You may get a cry. You may get a shock. But you're not going to be as invested in it or as engaged in it as you might have been when you thought that that actually was your life. Similarly, people tend to think that what's going on in the conscious mind is the reality of their life. When you realise that you are the witness of that, you naturally will find that you disengage from it a great deal. So that's, I think, one of the first steps, something to contemplate, is what is it that is aware of the conscious mind? And that's what meditation can help with. If you sit quietly, you'll notice that the mind is chattering away, the conscious mind. But you will also notice that something else is aware of that. I am aware of the chattering mind. What is it that is aware of the chattering mind, and come to your own conclusions.